This is Marc Sims live, or sort of live from the south side of Chicago. This is Just a Few Questions. Just a Few Questions. I have Fred Klonsky on the line. Did I say your name right?
Close, listen, close enough.
How do you say it?
It's Klonsky.
Klonsky.
Yeah.
I never met a Klonsky.
Well, we have to meet.
Yeah, what I mean is that you always see names Smith
Well,
and Jones.
If
Smith,
you met them,
yeah.
they're probably related to me because there's
Wow.
not many Klonskys out there other than relatives of mine.
And I'm from Chicago, so that name is like wow, I never heard that. So
Well,
you're not originally from
when
Chicago.
when I came to Chicago in '73 from Los Angeles, it's a Russian name, Russian Jewish name, so it ends in a Y. But of course, in Chicago, everybody assumed it ended in an I and assumed I was Polish. So that's just the way things are in this town.
Well, that's what I thought when I first heard it. Oh, it's a Polish guy.
Yeah.
Wow, he still got some Polish people in Chicago, right?
A few, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we were like the capital of Polish people in the whole world.
More Poles in Chicago than anywhere in, I think, outside of Warsaw.
Yeah, I think, but we slipped. I think it's New York now or something.
Well, they're out in the suburbs. A lot of white folks left Chicago for the suburbs, and I think some of them might have been Polish.
So Chicago, of course,
they're lost. I mean, I love the city, so there you go.
Chicago's a much different town than you got here, Fred Klonsky.
It has changed. That's right.
In and we can't go.
A lot of those good union jobs we used to have left, and the people who worked those jobs have left with them. So that's the thing I miss. You know, we lost something like 250,000 African Americans since Harold Washington was mayor. So that's a loss to the city.
Oh well, I live out here, so I can see it every day.
Yeah,
but we're gonna spin around back to that in the conversation there. But I thought you were a CPS school teacher. You said you taught school in Park Ridge.
I taught in Park Ridge for 30 years. I was a union president up there, and now I spend my time writing a blog, FredKlonsky.com. If anybody ever wants to read it, I write about politics and schools and political struggle. And my brother and I do a radio show and a podcast over at WLPN, Lumpin Radio, out of Bridgeport, believe it or not. And we do that show live every Friday at 105.5 FM. And you can hear it by going to really any place that provides podcasts, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or any place.
Well, you're way ahead of me, and I'm jealous, and I'm gonna put those links on the bottom of this video.
Yeah, no.
But
so
we
have millions, Mark. We have millions of listeners all around the world.
Okay, I'm doing something wrong.
You're not buying that.
No, I'm not buying that, because if I was, I said, how do we monetize that so I can quit my day job?
Oh, listen, if we were just saying, I got more time than money, and if I could figure out a way to make money out of spreading my ideas around, I would be on it. But unfortunately, people aren't paying a lot of money for that.
So, like, as a former school teacher, I know you love education and all that kind of good stuff. And you saw the town change. In fact, your radio show is done out of Bridgeport, and that ain't the Bridgeport that I knew as a kid.
No!
When you came to Chicago,
this is not our daddy's Bridgeport anymore. It's good in the sense that it's not run solely by the Cook County or by the 11th Ward of the Democratic Party. But when we invite black folks on our radio show, we get kind of a look, and then we have to explain that the things have changed and that it's a little more diverse than it used to be. In fact, it's kind of a hipster neighborhood. At least parts of it are.
But a lot of that hipster neighborhood, no matter probably where you are in the country, you listen to this little podcast.
Yeah,
it's really income inequality. A lot of it's just flat out capitalism.
And in this city, those 250,000 or 300,000 African Americans, mostly working class, mostly working in the industry that used to be part of the city, they're gone. But in their place, the city is 300,000, mostly white, over $150,000 a year pay have come in, and it's made the city really almost unlivable for poor and working class folks. It's gotten so expensive to live here that even the mention of affordable housing causes people to kind of get all excited.
Well, I live far south
We're fighting
side.
up here, and I live up in Logan Square now.
Uh-huh.
And we're just trying to get five or 100 units of affordable housing built on a parking lot that nobody uses, and you should. And it's about, we've been fighting for it for 5 years to get 100 units of affordable housing in our neighborhood.
The mayor lives in Logan Square. You can get her to do it. You know what I'm saying? You can work it out for you.
I'm sorry, I missed part.
The mayor lives in Logan Square, so you can make that happen.
She lives there now. Yeah, she's a neighbor.
Right, so you can make that happen. But I say that because I live far south side, and my house has it's the same value it was 30 years ago when I bought it. There is affordable housing, but you have to live in the hood, and that's and also even living in the hood with the abandoned homes and the foreclosures out here. The thing about it is that it still takes for most people 2-3 incomes. You have to have a household where you're like 2 or 3 people are working.
Ignore my dog. I'm sorry.
It's good radio. We love it. No, so people love dogs. It's all good. And so
but the other side of that though, Mark, is that you drive. I mean, when I drive to the west side or the south side, there's whole parts of the city that have kind of returned to prairie, where there's block after block of really empty lots with no building. Buildings have been torn down and nobody living on them. And so that's a problem too. Is that there's land. And there's land to build good housing at an affordable price if the federal government and the city and the county and the state would put some money into it. But nobody really cares about good affordable housing for poor folks nowadays.
Well, no offense.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that's what the mayor will address. Although she can't do it alone, can she?
Fred, I live
out
here.
She needs to get money from Springfield.
I don't want poor people living next to me. Trust me. You know how this works. Not in my backyard. And guess what?
Well, the problem is there's so many poor people these days that you're bound to live next to some of them.
And guess what?
You're living over on the Gold Coast.
Right. And I'm one of the poor people. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because there's a lot of value here in the far south side where I live, parts of the west side where African American is, where we live, but the thing about it, we don't want to even live with each other, and nobody else wants to live with us because of the crime, mainly the crime and the threat of crime. So there's opportunity.
Yeah, but crime is down. Listen, I mean, you remember. You're a young man, I know, but you remember the 90s and where we had like 900 murders.
We had 1,000 murders in this town. 1,000.
Yeah. And so really, I mean, listen, every murder is a tragedy, and every crime is hard on people. And I don't mean to make it any less than it is, but it's better than it was, and as long as we have income inequality like we have, then you're going to have crime. Of course, the biggest crimes are being committed by the guy who sits in the White House, and all those suits on Wall Street. That's where the real crime is. The time crime is going on, and here we sometimes get fooled into getting. Like I know you didn't want to get into all this time. We'll talk about it more next time, I suppose. But I'm always concerned about friends of mine who are encouraged to be mad at some other working people who maybe have it a little bit better. Someone who's making a couple $100 a week, getting mad at somebody who's making $250, when really it's the people who are making billions that they should really be angry about. So.
No, I agree.
That's my rant.
I agree with that. I am guilty of that. But let me close out this podcast. This first part. We're going to do a part 2 in a second. But how do you organize the underclass? How do you get them excited to vote and participate? I know they're burdened trying to get through the days, and when you're poor, you can't think straight. But how do you organize the underclass?
Well, I don't know. Listen, I've been at this. I'm 71 years old, and I've been at this for a long time. And if I knew that there was a recipe or a blueprint for doing it, people, things happen, and sometimes they happen by surprise. But here's what I know. I know that whatever the silver bullet is, I don't think there is one. I just think you have to understand the conditions that the people live under, and take a look at the concrete conditions and talk to them. I was a teacher, like I said, I was a teacher for 30 years, and I know that the best teachers are teachers who start where their students are at, the things that they're interested in. And I think if you're going to organize people politically, you got to do the same thing. You got to start based on their conditions, the problems that they face. You got to talk their language, and you have to be open to their ideas. And you can't do it. You can't do it from on top or on high. You have to get down into on the street and talk to people in a language that's clear and connected to what they believe in and what they're willing to do. But beyond that, I don't have any. I can't really answer that question in the sense of a book or a list of rules or here's what you do. I think we got to kind of, because we're always surprised. I was telling you the story that on our radio show, back in June, we had this lady on our show, and she was running for mayor, and Rahm Emanuel was still the mayor, and this lady, she was running at I think she was polling at 3% in the polls, and nobody gave her a chance, and today we call her Mayor Lori Lightfoot. So if you would have told me back then that, we had her on the show and I was encouraging her, but if you would have told me she was going to be the mayor, I never would have believed you. So life is full of surprises, politics too.
Fred Klonsky, it has been a pleasure. Thanks for doing part one. Stand by for part two.